This is Rating Descending,
where we watch IMDb's worst 250 movies so you do not have to.
I'm Michelle St. Clair.
I am Abigail Ward. Let's get ready to rumble.
And this week we watch The Last Exorcism 2. As Nell Sweetser tries to build a new life after the events of the first movie, the evil force that once possessed her returns with an even more horrific plan. Let's watch. It's really funny contextually for The Last Exorcism 2. You thought that one was bad.
Really straining on the even more. Like, we're still not going to watch it. I think we had to.
Also, this isn't a more horrific plan. I read the synopsis for the first one. This is nowhere near as horrific.
Yeah.
That one sounds like there's way more horrific shit that happens to Nell.
For a horrific plan, not much happened.
Yeah, for a horrific plan, a lot of it involves her, like, sleeping in bed.
And then kind of, like, looking at things that aren't there.
Yeah. There's a lot of peering.
Let's save this gold for the full episode.
Whoa. Why are we talking about that when there's so much else to talk about? Such as one of the things I wanted to do. I have two things for the opening.
Ooh.
I have two, which is a good number. 2 is the magic number. That's what they say, right?
2 can be as bad as 1.
The loneliest number is the number 1. Yeah. Fucking, was it Harry Nilsson? He was onto some shit when he wrote that.
He knew his shit.
Yeah.
He knew that you put the lime in the coconut and you mix it all up.
Wait, did he do that song?
I think so.
Wow.
Put the lime in the maybe I'm going crazy.
Yeah.
Hey.
He also did Gotta Get Up. I love that one.
Am I crazy? Did I just make that up? Oh my god, what if he didn't do lime in the coconut and I've just embarrassed myself.
There was a period where I started listening to that song Gotta Get Up by him, and I really like it, and I was like playing it to my darling girlfriend Brooke, and she fully was like, babe, you know that they use that song as the opening for Russian Doll. And I was like, oh, now when I play it, people are going to be like, oh, you watch Russian Doll. And I'm like, I actually haven't watched it, and I have nothing against it. Sometimes I'm like, I just like it as a piece of music.
I feel the same way about the Cramps because of that new Wednesday Addams show that came out, because she did that song to Goo Goo Muck. And when I was a teenager, I was really into the Cramps and I had a lot of merch. And now I see a lot of people suddenly wearing it because of Wednesday, which is great. But a lot of the time people point it and they're like, oh, from Wednesday? And I'm like, I haven't seen it.
That's the thing.
I just like them.
Because I don't want to I'm not like, oh, these fake new fans.
Yeah.
No, it's so good that the music is getting introduced to more people. It's more like you're telling me my life and it's not true.
Because the amount of times I've pointed at my shirt, which I've had for like 15 years, and just say, oh, Wednesday. And I'm like, no.
Yeah.
You don't know me.
You don't know
You don't know my story.
Yeah.
It was Harry Nilsson, by the way. He did do Coconut.
Rad. That explains why it's such a fucking cooked song.
Yeah.
But to get into slightly differently cooked, we got another email from MR, our probably most intense stat wizard of all the people who email us stats and charts.
Also, my absolute favorite Austen novel.
MR? Oh, Emma. Right. Yeah.
You hated that.
Well, it was a bit of a like roadblock of a bit, you know. Wow. To be fair, I do that all the time.
You do.
I do.
Justice for me.
I was literally having a good chat with a friend of the podcast, Gaten Souza, just the other night, and one of my favorite bits is when someone says half a sentence to assume the meaning from that half a sentence and then say something based on that, like someone, I don't know, going. Like when someone begins...
Someone doing that?
Oh, my God. You know what? Fuck it. Never mind.
No, finish the story.
For example, if someone is beginning a story of like, oh, I went to the... they're about to say something and they're like, oh, someone was telling me a joke the other day. And then they pause. And then I love in that pause going like, that's so great.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. You do that a lot.
He similarly described it as a big roadblock.
Yeah. Every single time I preface anything with, so I was thinking, you always go, that's great. I'm like, fuck you. And anytime anyone delivers anything similar back to you, you're like...
Yeah, because I know it's annoying. I'm well acquainted with how annoying it is.
Then you have to accept me being annoying.
Because when I say it, I'm like, I hope they ignore me.
And we do.
But more statistics from self-described friendly neighborhood statistics man. And I loved this. This was sent a couple weeks ago, but because I was like away, I hadn't seen it until I got back. Specifically, at the time of this, which was just after RoboCop 3, we had apparently completed our new highest rated run of 5 movies. The stretch from Inspector Gadget to RoboCop 3 is your highest rated run of movies with
Like me or both of us?
I'm getting to that. 4.1 for Inspector Gadget, 5.5 for Rocky and Bullwinkle, 5.5 for Beowulf, 5.5 for Super Mario Bros, and 6.0 for RoboCop 3.
But we were on a fucking tear.
And it is also my shared best run or second best, depending on how you interpret the fact that we skipped Besmoir.
Oh my goodness. I mean, I keep saying like I'm trying to lower the ratings just to kind of decrease our average so it doesn't look as bad that it's going up. But we particularly have had a fantastic run recently.
Well, here's what I think is so funny about it is there was literally only 2 movies in between that and then the 2 weeks prior, Talk and Norbit. Right before that is our actual, like, your lowest rated run of movies.
I was trying.
Of which there is 3 zeros. 0 for Devil's Due, 3 for 50 Shades of Grey, 0 for The Apparition, 0 for Zombie Strippers, and then 3.2 for Last Airbender.
Fuck, we had a really shit time of it.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, well, all our fantastic streak has made up for it.
Yeah. We also got sent a really...
Oh, did you burp, Michelle?
I'm so sorry.
Can't do that.
No.
That's my thing.
We got sent some of this is just for us, and I'll show it to you after the recording. But we also got sent a text document with updated like rating descending all stars. If we go for just credited roles, because there's a lot of people who would be there because they're like extras in a bunch of movies.
Yeah,
it is specifically like tied for. It's a what is that 4? 1, 2, 3, 4. It's a 5-way tie at number 4 for second place of Anna Faris, Christopher Lambert, Chris McDonald, Justin Long, and Sylvester Stallone, with the rating descending all-star who, we mentioned this, I think, last time MR sent an email, Andrew Airley, who was Mr. Grey in 50 Shades of Grey. He was a co-pilot in Look Who's Talking Now. It was Ron Callahan in The Butterfly Effect 2. He was Carrot Grey or Mr. Grey in 50 Shades Freed and in 50 Shades Darker.
Oh my God.
Of course, because this was sent, as of when this was sent, it's not including the now 6th member of that top, Dakota Johnson from the 3 50 Shades movies, and then also Wounds.
Oh, of course.
And also honorary shout out to Kane Hodder, who the only reason he isn't also tied for 4 if you only include credited roles, is that his role as like a stuntman and actor in Fair Game was uncredited as a helicopter henchman.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
So it's a 7-way tie for second place at number with 4. And then fucking Andrew Airley coming in with 5.
That's crazy. Andrew Airley, I don't think I really registered that this man was an all-star. Like he wasn't... I don't think we'd referenced him, so it's so good to know the real king of the podcast.
Well, because when we look it up and stuff, we're often looking up the main cast and not thinking about every single one.
Oh my God, we had a sleeper.
MR is pulling the like stats and stuff.
Fucking love you, MR. Thank you so much for doing that.
MR.
That's what I said.
Oh, right.
It's just that we're Australian.
Yeah, I know. It's hard. It's hard because I'm like, I wonder if they'll misinterpret it, and then I misinterpret it.
MR.
Emma. Look, we should do the pivot, but I also wanted to talk to you about something that my darling girlfriend Brooke and I were talking about last night.
You have a girlfriend?
I do.
Oh my God, for how long? You've never mentioned her.
Almost 4 years now.
Ever? Oh God, that's crazy.
I know.
3.5 years.
Yeah.
Wow. Not that I knew.
Not that you knew.
No.
Yeah.
It's a total shock to me every time.
Because we were talking about... I think it's very funny, the genre of pornography called ruined orgasm.
I didn't know there was a genre of pornography called ruined orgasm.
I don't particularly enjoy it, but I think it's really funny because it's the idea of primarily like,
just edging.
Well, yeah. No, because like edging is its own thing, but this is like edging and then like withholding at the end, but like in a way that you usually come, but a little bit, so it kind of sucks.
Yeah, right.
And
yeah, that's horrible.
Yeah, but what I think is funny about it is it's not like There's so many more sexy ways to phrase it, but ruined is
Ruined orgasm.
You ruined it. You've ruined my orgasm is really funny to me.
To be fair, within pornography, I think ruined is used quite a lot.
Really?
Yeah. To reference the state of a woman.
Oh, but it's not usually. It's usually ruining a jizz.
It's like
Ruining a man's
yeah,
jizz, sometimes a trans woman's jizz, but
Yeah.
not usually ruining a woman in this way. It's
just
the
feel
woman
like-
who's ruined it.
Yeah, I feel like that you come across a lot of women being ruined by some massive schlong, you know?
Yeah. Well, normally I feel like
pussy
they're
got ruined.
destroyed.
Yeah.
The woman is destroyed, but the orgasm is ruined.
Yeah,
you
it's
know?
not destroyed orgasm.
Yeah.
It's ruined orgasm.
It's a ruined orgasm. It could be destroyed.
Ruined is so accusatory.
Yeah, it is.
It's not like failed orgasm or like
It's so spiteful.
yeah.
Failed orgasm is like, oh, I was trying really hard and it didn't happen. But ruined is like, you did this.
Here's my question.
Yeah.
Why did you want to talk about this in the opening?
Well, because then we started joking about like a ruined jerp, and then I in particular came up with a ruined jommet.
Oh,
Of, like,
that's a gene vomit, right?
Yeah, that's a gene vomit. No, that's
Yeah.
a jizz vomit. And then you're about to come, but then they ruin it, so you just dribble a little out of your mouth. Speaking of things that are speaking of things that are ruined. But yeah, speaking of things that are ruined, I didn't come while we were watching the last Exorcism 2.
I had 6 different ruined orgasms while watching The Last Exorcism 2. I was multitasking, just trying to beat my meat while I was getting the film out of the way.
You know, I think we've been in a real string of talking about us like coming and jacking off while watching these movies.
We have been.
We have to rein
be
ourselves
fair-
in a little bit.
To be fair, from the moment this podcast
To be fair,
started,
I am usually jerking off while watching these movies.
I do have my meat in my hand right now,
Yeah,
and I am
like,
beating it.
To be fair, it's just talking about my life, man.
I hate the idea that someone's telling me to not beat my meat. Like, it's my body. I can do what I want.
Fucking fascist, I yell as I'm jerking off.
What I was going to say is, to be fair, from the very beginning, we have never shied away from talking about just the concept of beating one's meat. I think we found it pretty fucking funny for
know
at
we
least
do.
the last 2.5 years.
Yeah, that's very true. Neither of us even have the traditional meat that you beat.
No.
But
Lacking the meat to beat.
Instead, I could do a bongo style samba on my meat.
I hate that. I hate that. You've now taken it too far.
Look, why don't we just skip this bit and I get into the key
Okay,
details?
all right. Bongo style.
Bongo style meat beat.
Ugh. You know, my
Oh,
favorite
that's
thing to
right.
do to Claude now is that I love sniffing him like really aggressively. Like, I'll go straight up to his ear while he's working and I'm like, and then I'll put my nose in his mouth and I'll be like, and then I'll put my nose in his hair and I'm like,
What are you,
and
a
I'll do it for
fucking
like
Labrador?
three minutes maybe, just because I think it's funny.
I mean, you do have the hair of like a golden retriever.
Yeah, but not the heart. The
Well,
hair of a
apparently
golden
you fucking
retriever.
do. You're just sniffing your boyfriend. Husband. Right, so this came out in 2013.
Ah, great year for it.
Great year for it. The first one came out in 2010. Notably, both of the movies were produced by Eli Roth, which I think this movie pretty proudly states in its
Christ.
opening. Yeah, that explains a lot
Yeah,
to
it
me.
explains a lot.
For such a fucking purported innovator of horror, he's involved in a lot of movies that everyone thinks are pretty shit.
Yeah, the only good thing he's ever done was appear in fucking Inglourious Bastards. Otherwise, he can fuck off.
Yeah. Anyway, the director of this was a guy called Ed Donnelly.
Wait, gas space Donnelly?
Gas dash Donnelly.
Gas.
So like as if one parent was gas.
But is it gas with one S?
No, GASS.
Oh,
Like Kyle Gass
okay,
of
yeah,
Tenacious
all right.
D.
Cool.
Who directed a bunch of indie movies that I, as far as I could find, did not get rated very well.
Shocker.
And then one that did, at which point a bunch of people went like, this guy's the future of horror. And then they gave him this and they were like, uh-oh.
Never mind.
Weirdest part of this, the writer is fucking Damien Chazelle.
What? No, it's not.
I'm
it's
gonna
not.
in this moment double check.
No, it isn't.
It is 100%
No.
a guy called Damien Chazelle. What I'm checking in this moment is that it is the Damien Chazelle.
What? Surely not.
Yes, it is. Yep.
What?
Yep.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's fucking nuts.
But also, like, because this came out in 2013, this would have been, like, written, like, in a point where he's, like, he hadn't made Whiplash yet. So,
but also, like, when they say it was written by him, what exactly did he write? Because from my understanding, so little happened in this film that could have been maybe 8 pages long.
Well, apparently he's credited both story by and screenplay by.
Wow,
with the director co-credited for screenplay by. So he came up with the concept of what if the last Exorcism woman got possessed again.
I don't like Damien Chazelle. He just gives me bad vibes. I loved Whiplash, but I don't like
I've heard a lot of great things about Babylon.
I have too, although
like
Babylon
La
does
La
not
Land.
look interesting to me. I think he just makes films that I don't find particularly like.
Sure. I have a complex relationship where I really like his movies, and I think he sounds like an absolute jerk.
I feel like that the infamous, Oscar mishap when they found out they hadn't won Best Picture and Moonlight had.
Yeah.
I just remember seeing the look on his face, and it wasn't being like a. He looked like a sore loser. He looked like, instead of being like, oh my God, what a mix up, but so happy for you guys, like, good on you, like, congrats, Barry Jenkins. He looked fucking angry, and it looked like he stormed off, and he kind of deleted all of his social media accounts. And I was like, so you took it badly. And for that reason alone, like, you had an opportunity to just be a good sport about it, but you couldn't be.
Yeah. See, I don't want to get into into any, like, I'm accusing him of being problematic, because he hasn't, as far as I know, done anything. But it feels like
vibes.
Watching a future David O. Russell. I'm like, someone has to tell him to chill out, or I think this is going to end badly.
100%.
In the way that I held a grudge against Miles Teller for a long time, because he's apparently was an arrogant jerk who then was causing trouble about, like, vaccination and stuff on the Top Gun set. But then apparently Tom Cruise basically was like, pull your fucking head in. And he did.
Oh, wow.
And now he's more chill.
That's great, because the only, like, I remember hearing, like, a couple of stories about Miles Teller as well, how he was really difficult and quite aggressive. But then I keep seeing these really wholesome videos ever since Top Gun came out of, like, videos of his wife and him on set with cast, and he seems more mature.
I think just, it's like, Tom York of Radiohead had that. Nick Frost famously once had that. I think it's just when you get very famous very quickly, it destroys your brain.
Interesting that
and
all
someone
of the
needs
men
to remind
tend
you
to
that you're a
like
human
this,
being.
It's interesting that this, example of arrogance, we can only think of men to pick as examples.
Think of how patriarchy destroys their brains on a small scale. Think about that magnified.
Yeah.
This movie stars Ashley Bell and Julia Garner.
Wait, Ashley Bell playing
Nell
Okay.
Sweetser.
And who's Julia Garner?
She was playing Gwen. The friend, the one.
Oh, the blonde one.
The blonde one. Yeah.
She looked really familiar.
Yeah, I don't know why.
The girl that played Nell was not very good. Alison Bell? Is that her name?
Ashley Bell.
Oh, Ashley Bell.
Yeah.
She wasn't very good.
Well, hey, not to front load things from later, but, like, her performance is the main thing that actually got praised in this.
Really?
I didn't like it either, but I don't think she's bad as an actress.
I don't know. She gave me almost Bella Swan vibes, like Kirsten Stewart Bella Swan vibes, when she was on that date and then he was saying something like, I think you're really pretty. And she's like, I was like, chill.
Yeah, look,
Let's relax.
I think the audience can tell already. Like, I think part of what our audience likes about our podcast is that we do give a pretty generous read in a lot of these movies. That's not going to happen with this one. It's not going to happen with this one.
No, look, a lot of my we had a lunch right before we recorded this, and it's given me, like, the afternoon snooziness, but also my general disinterest in this film is combining with that.
Yeah.
It's a tough day for little old Abby.
Look, before I get into the overview, I want to read this. Instead of phrasing it in our normal, like, this was the budget, this was the box office, I want to read you verbatim the sentence in Wikipedia because it's one of the saddest sentences I've ever heard.
Okay.
The film received generally negative reviews and grossed $25 million worldwide against a $5 million budget. And that just made me really sad. Just hearing, like, it was really negative reviews, and here's how it made 5 times its budget. And I'm like, that's so much money.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Here's the overview.
Okay.
And like many of my overviews recently, it's too long.
Give it to me.
A couple finds a I should add to the overview, I guess. The first movie is primarily about this other couple who are, like, trying to find weird phenomena, and then they stumble across Nell, who's like a farmer's daughter.
I assumed she was the subject of the exorcism in the first film.
Yeah, the first movie begins and she's like already been a little possessed, and then it's mostly them trying to be like, it seems like she is possessed, while people go, I don't know, and then figure it out, and there's like some cult that's after her.
And I
then,
assume her dad's obviously a big character in the first one.
Yeah.
And he is killed.
Yeah. He and the two main characters are killed as like Nell is like literally on like a flaming
classic.
pyre and like yelling out and
Why do
stuff.
exorcism films always end right when it gets interesting? It's like, cool, now everything's happening and it's over.
Well, what we find out is that she apparently just made it out of that.
Okay.
A couple finds a still demonic-looking Nell Sweetser apparently free from the cult that had her possessed by the demon Abalam in part 1. Fun little fact, Abalam is another name for the same demon, Paimon, the malevolent spirit in Hereditary.
Abalam is Claude's nickname for me.
Abalam. Oh, Black Betty. Abalam. In their home and take her to the hospital, where she appears catatonic. After a few months at a health home for girls in New Orleans, she begins to reintegrate herself with the world, making friends and getting a job as a cleaner. However, after seeing masked men at a Mardi Gras, different from the other masked men that are there, she begins to experience increasingly distressing phenomena, like her friend getting a seizure, phantom calls from her romantic interest Chris, and wet dreams. That's
terrible.
It's presented as if it's very terrifying, and it's just her having a wet dream.
Demonic to have a wet dream.
She's a good Christian girl.
She is.
Eventually, the other girls discover video footage of Nell from the original Exorcism on YouTube, hinted to be there as revenge for Nell not enjoying these phenomena. A former nurse of hers, and the character we mentioned earlier, that was played by, what the fuck is the actress? That was played by Julia Garner, is at this point like implied to be part of whatever the plot is against her.
Yeah.
A former nurse of hers, Cecile, informs her that the Order of the Right Hand have been watching her and attempting to help keep dark forces away from her. This sounds like it's 45 minutes in. No, it's like 70.
It is. There is a lot of her being at this like home with these girls just staring into empty rooms.
The plot begins 70 minutes in.
It does.
After an attempt to simply discover more about Nell almost leads to Cecile's death, they decide to call in help. 2 other members arrive to help sever the connection between Nell and Alabam. Oh, was it Alabam or Abalam?
Abalam.
Sure. 2 other members arrive to help sever the connection between Nell and Abalam after realizing that Abalam is in love with Nell and can return to the earth if she willingly gives herself to him. However, during the ritual, Abalam proves too strong to be kept at bay by the Order's spell, and they attempt to kill her by lethal injection to prevent Abalam's return. Feeling betrayed, Nell is confronted by Abalam in the form of herself, and she grabs his hand. The now merged Nell Balam kills the Order and sets out into the world for revenge.
I stand them. I ship them so hard.
Nell and Abalam.
Basically a love story, isn't it?
Nell v. Abalam.
Nell v. Abalam.
No, it's Abanel.
The absolute last exorcism.
Yeah, the for real this time last exorcism.
We actually mean it this time.
I mean, I think I mentioned it like the ending of the last episode that there was originally meant to be a third one.
I honestly think, like we have an issue with found footage films, such to the extent that at one point I suggested we just censor the words found footage on this podcast.
I remember.
I
There's a lot of work in the edit.
I have a similar issue with exorcism films. If anything, they're on the same tier.
Well,
We've
the
encountered
first
a lot
one
of them.
is a found footage film.
Oh.
And this is just a shot regular film.
Okay.
This is just shot straight. And it proves the theory that we've had recently, in particular after the apparition, that actually the found footage part isn't the problem.
It isn't.
It isn't. It's actually
more the nothing
movie.
happening for 70 minutes.
Yeah, it's the, like for people who are less like in the industry and stuff and like creative writing professionals, in general, like screenwriting structure, the conventional wisdom is that the first 10 pages, or in Campbell terms, like the ordinary world, is about showing the like standard world of the character before the conflict is introduced, which is like the call, right? That's like 15 pages, 15 minutes in, but then they only engage on the journey like 30-ish minutes in, for Act 1, right? a lot of these movies are like, if you take those first 10 pages and then make them 80 minutes, and then you take the 5 minutes of the lead up to the call, and then you just play that as 5 minutes, and then you end.
That's it. You know when the story starts? It's over. You've done enough.
If I wanted to watch people hanging around and looking sad, I'd look in the fucking mirror.
Oh, give me some skin,
Nice.
baby. Oh, we're still too far away.
You gotta stop asking me to high five.
Sorry. You just say so many things that I feel the need to high five.
You should just air five, though. Let's do an air five.
None of the satisfaction.
Oh, sorry, that was not legally clearable. Don't you try to remember me. Please remember.
Please
remember me. Oh, I love this music. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Yeah, I mean, look, I've already made a lot of hay, but I've been talking about it since I first looked through the list, and I'm so glad it's right near the fucking midpoint. This is probably going to be the funniest title in the whole list.
It is.
The Last Exorcism 2 is the funniest goddamn joke on the planet.
It is.
It's just, there is no better joke about sequel culture and run amok or whatever than that fucking title. It's so good.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Also, can I just say, in that final scene, the reveal, she keeps seeing Abilam. Like, there's a lot of masked figures that scare her, especially when, like, she gets freaked out by, like, a street performer that's, like, you know, in silver.
There's a guy that's a living statue, and he's not moving, so it's pretty spooky.
Yeah, she's, like, spooked out as soon as she sees him.
And then he does move.
And then he says something cryptic to her, because he's part of the conspiracy.
Yeah.
But either way, there's a lot of masked figures that freak her out, right? In that final scene, when she has been lethally injected and she sees Abilam walk into the room.
Yeah.
It was very silly because it was someone with an okay mask just in a black hoodie. Mm-hmm. I don't find black hoodies particularly scaring. As garb, not for me.
Well, that's because a lot of these movies, this is part of why I don't like a lot of these movies, is I feel like they're made to... Even though the core demographic isn't necessarily this, I actually feel like a lot of them are written with the politics of and assuming that the audience is hardcore white Christian conservatives.
Yeah.
Like a lot of them have the values of that demographic, and I don't know, man. I don't think that teens wearing hoodies are that scary because I'm not like a 45-year-old good Christian woman from Missouri who gets annoyed that teenagers are outside.
Also, how did Ashley Bell get praised for good acting? I found her very difficult to watch.
Yeah? Yeah. What for you was the worst bit?
I feel like she was very good at screaming when she was being exorcised. Mm-hmm. It was more the conversational bits, you know, where she had to respond to people and react to people.
Yeah.
Again, very Bella Swan.
I mean, she's also a person who has been very possessed and is like, I don't think she knows how to be a person. And in that, you know, I found her so relatable. I mean, like, how did you not like the bit, for example, you know, when after we see her have a couple of wet dreams, there's a bit where she's cleaning a hotel room, and then in the room next to her, she clearly can hear a couple having sex. And so she leans in to listen to it. Pretty scary.
That is so demonic.
Pretty scary.
She's evil now that she has an interest in sex.
And she enjoys it because like, oh my God.
I'm glad that her love interest slit his throat for some reason in front of her.
Yeah, I couldn't quite tell if it's that he was part of it or not. Or even if it happened, did it happen? Because like he calls her later, but is that the demon voice or is?
I don't even care what it did or didn't happen. You know what I loved about the final scene?
What?
That they really did just get but they really did just get a shot of her. The whole idea is that she's driving away and everything she goes past sets on fire.
Yeah.
They clearly just got a shot of her driving a car and then CGI'd in fire, and it was so terribly done.
Yeah, it really was.
And they were playing some like edgy music over it, being like, she's evil now. She's gonna watch the world burn.
Yeah.
Fucking terrible.
I do think, so we see, I think, her having wet dreams like 3 times, but the third one, she starts like touching herself in her sleep.
Did she have a ruined orgasm?
Abilam, you ruined it. You ruined
that's
it.
so fucking
the
hot.
thing. He's like, I'm
love
going
it
to hurt you.
Yeah.
And she's like, oh no. And he's
Love
like,
it when you don't come.
I'm going to stop. And she's like, oh, you ruined it. And she starts floating. The shot composition of her floating with the window behind her was not bad.
There was some very nice looking shots.
Yeah, that was pretty good.
It had, and look, it was a nice insight into New Orleans. You know, some nice, interesting shots of New Orleans.
I got enough of New Orleans from Wounds.
We've had a lot of New Orleans, haven't we?
They must have had a fucking tax incentive at some point of like, if you shoot a bad horror movie here, we'll give you $5 million.
Yeah, right?
Like
everyone's swarmed.
It's crazy. I think it's just one of those cities where people are like, we can't just set everything in New York and LA. Come on, we got to do somewhere else. And they're like, New Orleans is spooky.
Pretty spooky.
People wear masks there. There's
New
bartenders there. That was in Wounds.
Spooky. Have you heard of Madame Lalaurie?
No.
Ooh.
Have I heard of that one woman in New Orleans? No. What the fuck are you talking about?
Well, she was notable for it's really spooky.
Yeah.
In the late 1800s, she had a very large house and a lot of, actually this probably would have been the mid 1800s. She had a lot of servants, a lot of slaves essentially.
Oh.
In this big like 4-story high like manor in the middle of New Orleans.
Yeah. I think that's the bit I always figured about New Orleans is that it's in Louisiana.
Yeah.
You know,
the deep south.
New Orleans. And then it's like,
no,
Louisiana. And I'm like, no. Oh my God.
And one night there was a fire. And when the fire rescue team I don't think they had firefighters, but the fire rescue team came and put out the fire, there was a servant there who they realized had set it on purpose because she wanted someone to come help her. She was chained to a stove and she told them to go check upstairs in the attic. And after they put the fire out, they went to the top story of the attic, of the building, and opened the attic where all the windows in that level had been sealed shut. And up there, she had a literal workshop of horrors where she had tortured and mutilated a bunch of slaves and servants. And kept them up there for years, chained against walls. And as soon as the mob found these people, they set fire to the entire, they freed them and set fire to the entire house and tried to lynch her for good reason. And she escaped and was never seen again. And guess who owned that building?
Nicolas Cage. You've told this before.
Yes.
Yeah. That's right.
That's
Nicolas
the one thing I know
Cage
about
has
New Orleans.
the fucking...
It's so weird.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I remember you've said this before. Yeah,
it's crazy.
You drop the most upsetting information. And
that's what I'm here for.
In my regular life, I'll tell stories. You know, like people are sharing stories from their life, and I'll tell a story from mine, and then people will say, sometimes the things that you say make me so sad. And then I'm like, oh no, that's terrible to hear. But you tell stories that make me sad. They're just not of your life. Yeah. They're just really sad things you know.
Well, you don't know what's upstairs in my attic. You don't know what I've got going on.
Okay.
Just you wait.
I want to talk about one of my favorite scenes because it is. I wrote so few notes in this because I normally.
What did you have to write notes on? What material was there?
Guys, the fact that we have any material.
The fact that we showed up.
Yeah.
You're lucky. You're lucky we're here.
Like that's how you knew. That's how the audience knows for certain that we both weren't exaggerating about how upsetting Besmoir was, but also that we couldn't find an esbitor because we're not going to bitch out if there's nothing to talk about.
Exactly.
We're still here.
It's not about having nothing to talk about. We still show up and try our fucking best.
Put in the work. Is
put
our
in the
best
muscle.
good? No.
No way.
But it is our best.
Is our best some people's worst? Absolutely.
Yeah.
But we're here.
Our A is another person's C. One of my favorite scenes, because it has 2 out of my 6 notes or whatever, is when Cecile invites her over. And then 2 particular things happen that are so fucking funny to me. One is she starts trying to do a spell that seems to be to allow Cecile to see Nell's memory and in her mind's eye so that they can find out exactly what happened with the cult and after it and all of that stuff. And then part of that process is Nell needs to think about it, which makes her really upset. And then so she starts getting really upset and distressed. And then Cecile says, "What's happening, child?" And she's the one who fucking asked her to do magic.
Yeah, what do you think is happening?
She's
clearly across it.
Yeah, she literally is like, oh, I know some magic and we're going to do this together,
Yeah.
okay? What I need you to do to start the magic is this thing. And then she starts doing it and she's like, what? What are
This
you
is
doing?
crazy.
What's it? I'm like, you fucking know. You're the magic. But did you not know what was going to fucking happen?
Also, when that scene is preceded by a scene
yes.
of her on the sidewalk where she's walking around and this guy behind her starts like convulsing and seizing up.
Yeah.
But Cecile dashes out of nowhere.
Just from
and
like across
grabs
the
her,
street.
And they just run off together. And I was like, who the fuck is that?
Well, because it's implied that she's just watching her.
She's just, yeah.
Because what happens, the setup for that scene is a guy has like recognized her from the YouTube video
Yeah.
and is basically like,
that girl.
hey, it's the fucking demon girl. You want to get a picture together? My brother, he loves this stuff. And they take a picture and then it's all fucked up, which is so fucking spooky.
scary.
The picture is a little
fucked up
glitched. Oh my fucking God. You're never going to sleep tonight. Imagine a picture had like really bad JPEG
You know what's
compression.
scary? Seizures and blurry pictures.
Oh my God, it's not just
spooky.
blurry, like it's like staticky. Oh, it's so fucked up. And he's like, oh, this is great. I mean, we got to get another one. My brother's going to love this shit. And then she says, stop. And then he's like, oh, and like falls over and has a seizure. And then she wants to stop it. And that's when Cecile is like, no, don't do that. Come with me.
Yeah. And she starts screaming, why is no one helping him? And it's like, why aren't you helping him? You're the one that's literally closest to
She's
him.
in distress.
She's possessed by an evil spirit.
Well, she's not. That's what's weird about it. She is and she isn't. Like,
That's right, she's not. She's getting courted by an evil spirit.
almost as if in the first movie, the implication is that she was possessed and then they got Abilam out and then now they need to get him back in.
Yeah.
And so she's not possessed. She just has a connection to him.
Yeah.
Did it not work? They really should have elaborated more on that.
Also, God, that date scene with Chris was crazy. Like,
Oh my God.
they had so little in common to talk about.
Do you mean where they went to the zoo?
They went to
Or-
the zoo,
Yeah.
and then he's like, is it true that you've never had a boyfriend before? And she's like, no, who said that? Who said that? No.
Which I think he should have said, like, I think it's pretty clear.
Are you okay?
Based on how you talk to anyone, I think it's pretty obvious. I was just asking.
And then the fact that they did form some kind of connection that was strong enough for her to fantasize about his death if he did or didn't die. The fact that he showed up at her window unannounced, like it almost feels like the rest of their romantic relationship is based on an entirely different date than what we saw. Because if I
Yeah.
went on that date, I'd be like, that was terrible. We had no chemistry. I'll never see him again.
You aren't Nell Sweetser.
That's true.
Everyone in her life has been terrible. And Chris asked moderate questions, which, to be fair, we don't see anyone else doing except the doctor, who spends the whole time going like, you weren't possessed, shut up. Which I get why a real doctor would do that, but is
Yeah.
not a good way to doctor your patient out of that, is to just tell them, shut the fuck up, no, that didn't happen.
Yeah.
Don't do that.
Yeah.
Don't do that.
Yeah. Say it again.
Don't do that.
Yeah.
Don't, like, hey, doctors, me, an unqualified armchair expert, listen to my advice. Don't do that.
Yeah.
Do it differently.
Yeah.
Here, hey.
Hey there.
Dun, 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 dun. Hey, I'm Michelle St. Clair, MD. I don't actually have a master's degree, but now I'm a doctor. Hey, Dr. St. Clair is in.
Hey, Dr. Sinclair, I've got an issue.
Well, what's the issue?
I have a hemorrhoid on my ass.
I think you should have a cream.
Like a jizz?
What?
I should have a jizz?
You should have a jizz? Like, to drink?
You said I should have a cream.
Yeah, okay. I see the confusion.
You're not a very good doctor.
Well, you fucking heard cream and went to jizz straight away.
It's this podcast.
should-
We've established
No,
it.
this is my doctor's office.
Oh,
all right? Come on. Come into the world with me.
All right, I'm seeing a lot of velvet green armchairs.
Yep,
I'm seeing
there we go.
soft wafting curtains.
Yeah, this is not your
It's
local
sunset.
general practice. This
No.
is a really nice little room.
No, I'm seeing the office from The Sopranos.
Yeah. Oh, so am I a therapist or
Yeah.
am I like a general?
You're a
am GP?
therapist.
I'm a therapist?
Oh, now you are.
Okay, I'm a therapist. Hi. Hey, I'm Dr. St. Clair, but please, Call me Michelle.
Hey, Michelle.
Please have a seat.
I have an issue.
Okay, that's great.
I think this
Oh
evil
no.
spirit is trying to court me.
Aw.
And really
Is he
wants
cute?
Well, I can't see him, but
Ooh, mysterious.
he's definitely got like a great energy to him.
that's
like he's very
cool.
dominant and
That's really
assertive.
good. Yeah.
But he
Okay.
does tend to do
you
things
like
against
that sort
my
of
will.
structure? Oh no.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
sounds really unpleasant. What's your relationship with your father like?
Oh, the exact same way, except
Wow.
he died because of this evil spirit.
Huh, you know what?
Yeah.
I think maybe with some introspection, you'll see, like, I think you might be attracted to the spirit because of that.
Oh my God. What should I do?
Well, I think you could go with him, but I think what might help is instead you could perhaps engage with a sex worker rather than a random person, and then just have them, just call them daddy a bunch to really get it out of your system and
Right.
just nut it out.
So you're
Just
saying
really nut it out.
go to Cuba Street, pick
Sure.
up a random whore,
That's
and nut
not
it
what
out.
I'm saying. You can go to an established brothel and
random
you don't
whore.
have to do anything you don't want to do.
Hey, I'm
You
Tony
could-
Soprano.
You could also just masturbate, engage in a fantasy. If you don't have a boyfriend, you could go find
I don't
someone.
masturbate. It's sinful.
I just figured that would be like a safer environment. Random people.
I
They're a
don't
professional.
masturbate. I don't have wet dreams.
Okay, I think-
I don't listen to people having sex. I think it's disgusting.
I don't want to tell you the values to have, but I do think you should jerk off. Not
Just
here.
nut it out.
Not here.
Okay.
I can see your hand. There's
It doesn't matter.
nothing.
Just don't look.
There's
Just
nothing.
don't look.
You're just sitting in
You're
an armchair.
making it weird. I'm just trying to.
I actually
nut
don't
it out
think
a
in
little
this
bit here.
situation I'm making it weird. I know I'm a therapist. I actually have to tell you right now, this is insane. This is fucked up behavior.
So how much do I owe you for your time?
$2. After the
I can't
Medicare
pay that
rebate.
amount.
After Medicare
That's
rebate.
too much for me.
Oh, that's get out. And that's been Dr. Michelle St. Clair, MD. Please book an appointment when you can. Was that a good scene?
Was this good radio?
You know what?
Is this good or bad radio? Is it the film's fault or is it our fault?
I can't tell anymore, to be honest. You know what? Fuck it. Do you want to hear some trivia?
IMDb trivia.
I did want the character to be nice and empathetic, and you just kept wanting them to jerk off. I was trying to ruin your orgasm.
You did.
That's what I do as a therapist. Do you think I was going to say, do you think I'd make a good dominatrix? No way. Too self-aware. Because I'd be too busy asking, am I doing it right?
Yeah, you'd be like, are you having a good time?
You having a good time?
Because consent is everything.
Yeah, they'd be like, hit me. And I'd be like, I'd do a light smack. I'm like, do you want that?
Yeah.
Do you like that?
Did that hurt?
I'm really sorry.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah. Do you think I'd make a good subinatrix?
Yeah,
That's cool.
maybe.
Okay. I'd probably cry too much.
You'd probably, yeah. I think what you'd perform best in is just really nice, loving, consensual sex. For you, I think that's probably what you're most into.
I do really like that.
Because I can't imagine you either being a sub or a dom. I think for you,
Yeah.
it's just like, let's be equal and make out.
Yeah, I actually do really like
Yeah,
that.
that's your
It's
thing.
my favorite.
Yeah.
When I have sex, that's my favorite situation. All right, here's some trivia about the movie.
Mm-hmm.
When Nell is cleaning hotel rooms, picture. Do you want to hear the trivia or not?
It's good at me.
Do you want to hear the trivia or not?
Yes.
Look me in the fucking eyes and say it.
I want to hear the trivia.
Then shut the fuck up. You know what? I'm changing tactic. Instead of trying to like power through it and ignore, now next time you burp, it's you have to stop. You have to. When Nell is cleaning hotel rooms, a picture of an owl with long legs can be seen on the wall. Wait, with long legs?
An
I only
owl
just-
with long legs? It's so spooky.
I was trying to.
That's so
the rest of
spooky.
this is about it being a demon and spooky, but I was just so taken aback by actually processing a demon with long legs because that is like a little unsettling in the way that I think a good
Wait,
demon
is it a demon with long legs or an owl with long legs?
The picture is that of a demon called Stolas, depicted in a 19th century French demonology text called Dictionnaire Infernal.
So it's not an owl?
No, it's a demon, but it looks like an owl, but it has really long legs.
Okay.
What I like about older things before we have like pop culture is people would go like, oh man, I'm going to write about all these demons. What's something really fucked up? What if an owl, like, you know, a squat little owl?
Yeah.
Long legs.
Like huge long legs.
Someone's like, I hate that. I fucking hate that.
That's terrifying.
That's awful. And someone was like, imagine a man, goat head.
Goat head, goat legs,
Goat head, goat legs,
Yeah.
human torso.
fish man. We're just talking about Hieronymus Bosch at this point, honestly.
Well, he was the fucking master of it. He was like,
He
what if
was.
an eyeball had like fucking flamingo legs?
yeah,
And
what
you're
if
like,
this
Jesus.
big round meat ball with one eye
Yeah.
had little legs?
What if someone had no bones and had melted a little?
What
and
if
you're like, oh my
someone's
God.
head was coming out of their ass?
That would actually upset me. If I saw an asshole and then a human head emerged
Fully
from it.
folded up into the
Fully
pussy.
folded.
Yeah, you
so the
fold
head
your
is
head
folded?
down
That's
and
the most
shove
fucked
it
up
through
part. So
to
it's
come out
coming
of your ass.
You think it's coming out, and then as it comes out, it goes because it unfolds. You know, like a spring-loaded, like a mattress that's in a cardboard.
Yes.
Yeah,
Exactly that. That's what I'm talking
it's
about.
been rolled up tight.
Yeah,
the air's
that's what
been
I'm
taken
talking
out, and
about.
It's coming out of the asshole, and it just like
It's kind of like I imagine
pops
like
out.
the head, you fold over, like you bend over,
Yeah.
and you stick your head through your belly button, straight down in your organs and straight out your ass. That's a Hieronymus Bosch painting.
I once saw pornography of a woman who had a penis so long, even when flaccid, that she put it in her butt. It was
Was it hurt?
a little bit.
Did she have a ruined orgasm?
She didn't comment it.
Yeah, that's a ruined
Yeah.
orgasm.
But it's not bad. I just wanted to contribute that, I guess. Maybe I'll cut it out. I just wanted you to know that exists, and it's not bad.
Okay, all right.
So,
Did it remind you of a Bosch painting?
it did come.
Were you beating your meat?
I was
Not that time.
not that time.
Not
It's
that
just
time.
a ruined jerp.
Yeah. You can't beat your meat to pornography, but everything else.
Yeah, no. Weirdly, cannot do it. to
Yeah,
pornography.
just does not get me off.
Does not do
flip
it for me. I do
Does
it
not
just
flip my
for the
boat.
aesthetics. Like sit in my office chair, looking at my laptop. That's pretty good. That's cool.
You bookmark it all
Interesting.
to go back to later.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, that'd be crazy if I did that. Had organized folders. That's so
It'd
insane.
be crazy.
It'd be crazy. Sony Pictures has expressed. Oh,
We've gotten a really deep insight into pornography with Michelle today.
we have. We have. So Sony Pictures had expressed interest in developing a third film after this film's modest box office success.
What? The Box Office Express.
Fuck it, I'm cutting it because I've already said it. It doesn't matter. The third film was never made. I'm just gonna cut in there.
Doing well today, but it's just funny. It's just stupid.
Because there's nothing. This isn't Super Mario Bros. Where not only was there so much, there's too much to. We have to do Super Mario Bros. Again because
Yeah, we spent-
half the
yeah.
episode was me explaining just Mario to you.
Yeah, can you explain demons to me?
Sure, but I'm less familiar with specific demonology,
Yeah.
which makes it tricky. I wish I was. It's just, a lot of pop culture invents its own demonology that isn't really consistent with classical demonology, which is mostly from the Apocrypha, rather than from specific biblical sources. Or it's often, quite frequently, from Dante's The Divine Comedy, which is actually where a lot of our understanding of both like how hell is constructed and demonology and stuff, a lot of that is just from Dante's famous fanfic, Catholic fanfic, The Divine Comedy, and, Inferno in particular.
Do demons also go wahoo?
Yep. Well, I mean, because in The Divine Comedy, it's literally Dante himself, but as a Giga Chad, going to hell and then later to purgatory and like bliss with his favorite poet, Virgil, which I think is really funny because it's classic, like inserting your faves and all of that. But Virgil did quite frequently go, wahoo! Or when they would encounter like a big scary demon, like a Lemure or something, and they go, oh no! A working title for the film was Beginning of the End, The Last Exorcism 2, until the official
Beginning
poster.
of the end.
Yeah, apparently like late in the edit, they decided to change it. At least beginning of the end, it sucks, it's generic, but it's a title that isn't just The Last Exorcism 2.
Yeah.
It's also not the beginning of the end because there was already a movie before this.
Yeah.
To say this is the beginning, the last two, so confusing.
It's very Churchill. This is not the end. This is not the beginning of the end, but rather the end of the beginning.
But that at least made sense.
It did.
Because he's like, we're moving to a new stage. This is saying the second component of this is the beginning of the end of the last thing.
Yeah.
Two.
Even though the first one was meant to be the
first one,
last.
that was the last one. Well, the
This is the
second one
beginning
is
of the
actually
end
the
of the last.
beginning of the end of it. just really awful.
Damien Chazelle. What's going on?
What's going on,
What
Chazelle?
happened?
Get your head out of your fucking ass.
I can't believe like 4 years later, he won an Oscar for Best Director.
Well, technically, yeah, like 1 year. Well, I mean, he didn't win it. For Whiplash.
Well, yeah, 1 year later he came out with a fucking great
Banger.
film.
And then, of course, our perennial favorite, not screened for critics.
In another life, we would have called this podcast Not Screened for Critics.
Yeah, if
eh?
we knew, we would have called it Not Screened for Critics.
It's a good name.
I've said before, that should be our sequel show. Do you want to hear some reviews?
Yes.
Reviews!
It says 15% on Rotten Tomatoes
Wow.
and
Higher than I thought.
4.0 on IMDb.
Ugh.
And this is one of my favorite reviews I've ever seen on this podcast. Christopher Runyon from Movie Mezzanine said, "Not a single aspect of this film suggests that anyone involved in the production cared."
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Everyone is sleepwalking through this fucking movie.
Yeah,
There is-
absolutely.
There is no intent of any artist anywhere.
It's like no
over
one's
this movie.
barely registering that they're in this film.
Say
Like,
what
it's
you
the kind
will.
of film where you're like, how did anyone sign up for this film?
Yeah, well, because someone said, "Here's money so that you can
Yeah.
continue to pay rent."
Yeah.
And I get it. I mean, say what you will about zombie strippers, but that director had an intention. It was awful, but you could feel his directorial intention in that movie.
It is upsetting that it was a commercial success.
Yeah, it's depressing, if anything. Here's an IMDb review titled, "This movie is excellent" by IP Hound.
Okay.
Or Ifound, depending on whether it's a PH for sort of situation, you know?
Okay.
I cannot believe some would slam this movie. The tension is over the top. The plot and undertone is exactly what horror is about. If you like monster movies like Jason Part 89 or Michael Comes Back as a Poodle, then this isn't your movie. But if you like that which is truly scary, welcome home. This movie is flipping amazing. The Exorcist is and will always be the best horror flick of all time. The Omen series is a close second.
Oh, what?
I feel that this movie is in this class, as is the first. The end fills your head with evil joy and left me craving more. No, this is not full of super scary moments
No, it's not.
and constant action and fear moments. The fear is much more in the mental undertone and keep you wondering, holy hell, W.T. $, percentage, ampersand, up arrow, exclamation mark, exclamation mark, exclamation mark. 10 out of 10. And here is the only other 10 out of 10 review. It was only 10. Not a bad movie all, worth watching, by D.F. Curran. I did not see the first movie, and maybe I'm better off for that. Perhaps a better title would be Once Possessed. Until near the end, the character might have been imagining things. I found it entertains throughout. 10 out of 10.
Very well written.
I just love the energy of not a bad movie. I didn't see the first one. Could have used a different title. Didn't know what was happening. 10 out of 10.
I want to be as easygoing as that person.
Yeah, I get it. Sounds easy to pleasy. That were those two 10 out of 10s. But Abby, what was your review?
Michelle, this has really ended a really hot streak that we've been on for a while. I mean, Wounds got in the way a little bit.
Yeah, Wounds got in the way. Well, the week before last week was last week was Tube Light.
Yeah, okay, that wasn't that great.
The hot streak's dead.
hot streak's long dead.
I think this is the nail in the coffin of the hot streak.
It was horrible, and like it was just a struggle to watch. It wasn't that long, but it felt like forever. It was just a drag. It's difficult to even talk about. Like I feel like we're zero out of 10.
Zero?
0 out of 10. What'd you rate it?
We're scrambling. We're scrambling.
Scrambled.
On the one hand, other movies have upset me more, but on the other hand, I watched this movie as the third out of 4 podcast movies I had to watch almost in a row. I think 3 of them were in a row. Yeah. And specifically, because I hadn't been paid yet as a freelancer, I sat on my couch. I had to rent it on Apple TV because it's not streaming anywhere. And it was $5 and I did not have enough. So I just sat on my couch for like an hour waiting for a friend to transfer me like $20 so that I could rent it. I got paid the next day and it was totally fine. And I don't actually think when I did get lent money and watched this that I felt any less depressed than that moment. And I think almost any movie on this list could at least pick me up a little from how bad that moment feels.
Yeah.
So that's pretty indicting of this movie. I'm going to give it 1.5. It's
Generous.
just below 2 because it isn't really a movie.
Generous score. You're a very kind woman.
Thanks. I am benevolent, but I am God. I, as a therapist, diagnosed this with 1.5.
Oh my God.
But that was just what we thought about the movie. As we wrap up, though, it occurs to me that, of course, it's worth pointing out that we have social media. You know, you can find us on Twitter at RateDescendPod. You can find us on TikTok at RateInDescending. Abby is laughing so much, so silently. She's trying to let me do this uninterrupted, but we just can't get to this point without laughing.
We have social media.
It's because every time I'm trying to not go, well, because that's what we do for the next bit.
I'm always like, guys, we're on social media, and it's terrible every time.
Or you could email us at ratingdescending@gmail.com. Clearly, we love reading out the emails.
Clearly, we do.
We get more that we don't read out, and I love it every time. It genuinely, every time I get an email, it is the highlight of my week. It makes me so happy.
Michelle, it's like the one thing that Michelle can come to as well after she's beat her meat all day.
Yeah, after I'm like, whew. Another hard day of jacking off. Brooke's like, oh, a hard day at the office. I'm like, yeah, I could barely come that 10th time. And then I see, oh, what is that? Sorry, this is my real voice. Oh, what is that? An email? Oh, from the podcast? That's pretty cool. So...
It's the only time you don't have a ruined orgasm.
Yeah, I'm like, oh my God, a full one. And my darling girlfriend is like, oh, it wasn't ruined. I'm like, yeah, no one ruined it at all.
Or you can find us on our personal accounts.
After that, why wouldn't you?
I'm on Instagram under Abigail J. Ward.
Or if you want to see me not come, you can find me on Instagram at michelle.stclair. And I literally realized the other day, I have this whole time been saying I'm on Twitter as michelle.stclair. I'm not. I'm at just Michelle St. Clair.
Oh my God.
Just no I in the Claire.
Michelle.
So I might change it.
And don't forget to drop us a review wherever you get your podcasts, because we'd love you for it. We'd really like it. You'd make Michelle come again.
Yeah, I think the review would probably be a 3.5, too much coming, and I'd be like, that's fair. Another one comes. Here I go again.
Well, that was John Leguizamo.
No, he's like, hey, come on, Mario. You know, I'm gonna come again. Come on, Mario. You know, it's me and Daisy. We're gonna go to the Mushroom Kingdom, and I'm gonna come a whole bunch of times. I'm jizzing over and over again. Come on, babe. Do you want to do a doggy style? Or...
I hate how good that impression is.
Thank you. Or we could return to the Mark Wahlberg and go like, I'm gonna come. All right. I'm gonna come wicked hard.
Wicked hard.
Well, that was the last Exorcism 2. What are we watching next week?
Michelle, next week we are watching Shark Night 3D.
It's hard to believe that that's not going to be a fun time.
Yeah, well, join us next time for another fucking movie in the list.
Sharks? At night? What the hell? with 3 dicks. What the hell?
Bye.